If you're driving, please remember to use your car's Bluetooth speaker while listening to the AM Drive. Sports talk is not worth your safety or the safety of others.
Grab your popcorn and sit back.
Jump the gun. Oh, no, give me more than that. Okay, go this way. That was dumb. We are.
How could I tell you when nobody wants to? Your favorite words I will show.
Happy Wednesday to everyone in the sports universe. This is the AM Drive, and we are live. For Aaron Crouch in the sports universe in Las Vegas, Nevada, I am Michael Carvelis in Savannah-ish, Georgia. Aaron, how has the last 2 days been treating you, sir?
They went quick. Unfortunately, my Bucks. I can't believe I said my Bucks. I'm turning into a me person. I don't like it. Unfortunately, the Bucks suffered their first loss of the season, which now puts me in such a conundrum. You know, we talked about this with I wanted the Bucks to tank, and then they go out and win the first 2 games. So then I get some hope, and then they go out and lay an egg. It's like I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and Baker, which we're going to get into, was like, "Oh, we didn't come up with enough fire." I'm like, "It's not good, dude."
It's Monday Night Football. You're 2-0 against the defending NFC champion. What more fire do you need, buddy?
Apparently a lot. Todd Bowles may not be a motivator, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
Head to MikeandAaronDrive.com for the best in our merchandise, like these awesome hoodies with our faces. Of course, they come in different colors than just red and black, well, maroon and black. Aaron's got the tumbler. I've got, of course, the phone case I never used because it's just so awesome I can't use it. But I'm sure it works fine.
It's a shrine.
Mug. Yes, the shrine. And, of course, the mug that comes in black as well, that black edition mug. I've got to get one. I keep saying it. I'm going to get one, though. And, of course, our shop sponsors, socials, and YouTube, all at MikeandAaronDrive.com. I know it's 2 days old at this point, but as Wednesday tradition here, Monday Night Football recaps, and they love having 2 games. Eagles beat down the Buccaneers 25-11. This game was never close. It was actually 25-3 until a late touchdown to Mike Evans to make fantasy owners a little bit happier or a little bit less mad, I guess. I thought Eagles. It's sad because the Buccaneers lines, like both offensive and defensive lines, didn't do much. And even when the Buccaneers got pressure, it was like Jalen Hurts just maneuvered the pocket so well. Found Zacchaeus late in the first half, and that pretty much opened up the game from there. So, gross.
Yeah, that play was wild. I mean, it was at the point where it was like, okay, well, you almost had a coverage sack, and then it was like, well, you had the line put so much pressure on him that he had to almost twirl it up there, and it was just like the stars aligned. And I thought it was a sack fumble to a pick then it became a touchdown. I was like, wow, what a sequence of events. And you're right, that just kind of opened the floodgates in that spot. The Eagles realized that the Buccaneers realized they just had no answer defensively for every single weapon that the Eagles had. I mean, DeAndre Swift, great game. A.J. Brown finally gets his after, his whine and tantrum on the sideline. But, yeah, I mean, maybe the Buccaneers will kind of figure this out and get back to their rightful tanking. And 2-15 is not so bad. That should still get you the number 1 pick, guys.
Especially with the way the Cardinals look.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles, and I want to ask you this briefly here. Does Todd Bowles, is that a glaring thing when your quarterback goes on the podium afterwards and says, we weren't motivated? I know players have to kind of motivate themselves sometimes, but a coach's job is almost kind of like motivating. And I want to know if you think that's a glaring problem with Todd Bowles, if that's what Baker said.
Yeah, so this one's tough for me. I did see this quote because Baker Mayfield is not in a position, the type of quarterback that he has been throughout his career. He is not in a position to go leaking these kinds of, I guess, inside information to the press. I mean, we've known that Todd Bowles, without Bruce Arians, I mean, his career is just a very mediocre coach. But let's not act like Baker Mayfield's not also supposed to be a leader on that team. So between Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield, to say that you guys came out with no motivation, that's not necessarily like a scathing indictment on Todd Bowles as much as it is on both of you.
That's true. That's a good point.
I mean, don't forget, you're still trying to play for your career for a team that's, I mean, in my opinion, the fans don't want you, haven't wanted you from day one, and you come out and say that. I mean, like I said, yeah, it's a bad look on Todd Bowles if you guys weren't motivated to play a Monday Night Football game against the defending NFC champions. But what does that say about you? Like, you're playing for your job week in and week out, and you couldn't be motivated for this game? Wow.
It's like, I don't know if he thought he was throwing the team under the bus or himself, like, because that threw a lot of people under the bus, including himself.
I think he was trying to be an honest, like, mouthpiece.
Honest Baker.
Well, an honest mouthpiece for the team, like trying to excuse the fact that they got steamrolled, minus the first couple minutes of the first quarter. They were just, I mean, the heavens opened up. It started raining, and that usually favors a running team, which the Buccaneers can't do. They just can't run that well. So, I mean, this was just not a good sign for Baker to come out and say we weren't motivated. I don't see how you're not. I mean, you started the season 2-0 against everyone's predictions. Like I said, I know I keep saying this, but like, you're playing the Eagles on Monday Night Football. What more motivation do you need?
Yep. Maybe they were watching this game, he thought. Bengals and Rams, because, Aaron, I'm so sorry to health experts out there. I'm so sorry to Bengals fans. This was a stupid move. If Joe Burrow, the plan was for him not to escape the pockets, and he literally dropped back 53 times. That's a serious problem, in my opinion. I don't care how much therapy you're getting. I don't care if you think the injury was going to heal. That's a stupid move if he can barely move. The fact the Rams lost this game should also be pretty pathetic. I know Bengals defense did their thing, but the fact that Joe Burrow, this was a bad look for an organization. Like, it's almost like they panicked. And even Joe Burrow mentioned it. I didn't want to go down 0-3. Well, then the team panicked. The team is already panicking. That's a bad sign to me.
Yeah, I'll first preface this game by saying the NFL is doing it wrong. I love the 2 Monday Night Football concept, but to have two games in the Eastern time zone, an hour from each other, I couldn't watch most of this game. It was ridiculous.
Right.
So for me, I'd like to just give a 2 thumbs down to the NFL's decision to make 2 Eastern Conference, or not Eastern Conference, but Eastern time zone games.
Right.
That being said, you're right. I mean, it took everything the Bengals had to beat the Rams by 3 points. These are just 2 not good teams. I don't know how to really sugarcoat it anymore. I mean, what we saw out of week 1 with the Rams just doesn't seem like a typical product with them. I mean, eventually, sometimes these guys just come back to earth, like Puka, Tutu Atwell. They're playing out of their minds right now. I think that's eventually going to level off. They traded away Cam Akers, which no big deal that much, but yeah, I mean, should the Bengals be proud of this win? I don't know. I'm not really sure. But you don't want to go down 0-3, but now you're risking. Is Joe Burrow getting hurt more and more each week? Like you told me, you texted me, like, is this a walking Achilles tear, like waiting to happen, or a tendon tear? It's possible. I mean, I know that all the pressure's on Cincinnati to be great this year, and they push through the ceiling, maybe win a Super Bowl, but it ain't gonna happen if you lose Burrow again for another year.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a bunch of health pundits out there that say, "Oh, well, it may not be an Achilles tear." Like, no one knows besides the Bengals. And I know the Bengals pushed him out there, but the fact you have to limit him that much on national television is a problem to me. Like, if he was not good enough to get outside the pocket, it's football. Anything can happen, and that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a tough spot, because it's like, if he's immobile, which again is not really part of his game, but it's to take out the small aspect that he might be mobile. Really, obviously, with guys like Aaron Donald, trying to line up and kill him.
Right.
I mean, that's just I don't know if that's necessarily fair to the Bengals. I don't know if that's necessarily fair to Joe Burrow. Like, you just invested $250 million in this guy. Like, I can't say would a couple weeks kill you, because they might be 0-4, 0-5, and then they're not coming back from that. But I mean, I think they've kind of stepped in it now. Like, if they would have just rested Burrow for 3 weeks and said, whatever the 3-week outcome is, we'll accept our fate and we'll get a healthy Joe Burrow and then we'll go from there. But now they're 1-2 with Joe Burrow. They can't afford to lose 2-3 more games in the beginning of the season. And they've kind of stuck themselves in this place. And that's what bad organizations do. I mean, sometimes bad organizations do the trendy thing and leave Joe Burrow in. I mean, I know Jamar Chase kind of half jokingly said, we don't need Joe Burrow for the first 5 games. Then we were going to win them all. But okay, maybe they won't win them all. But maybe he was right with saying, maybe let Joe get fully healthy before we figure out the rest of this season, before we lose him for the rest of this season.
The fact that the star wide receiver was skeptical at first shows me there's more to this story than just a calf strain.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he was openly saying that. Like, he was openly advocating for him not to play.
Well, we all thought that when he got carted off the field on a calf strain. I mean, I've strained my calf. I've strained my Charlie horse hamstring. I don't have the luxury of having a cart, but I mean, let's be honest here. You strain your calf. You don't need a cart to get off the field. I mean, that seems a bit excessive in my opinion.
Fair. Ready for your top 5s in the National Football League?
I am.
I'll go first here. I have 4 of the 5 same teams. So jumping up to number 1, jumping 2 spots, are the 49ers. 49ers are one of the most complete teams, if not the most complete team. And even if your quarterback is not, otherworldly, he's still Brock Purdy. He's still doing the right things at the right times. Number 2, the Dolphins, who dropped a 70-piece, and their offenses look pretty unstoppable at different points, not just the Broncos game. They've jumped up to the number 2 spot. Number 3, the Ravens have fallen from the number 1 spot to the number 3 spot. I value the Colts more than other people probably do, which is why the Ravens are still number 3. They're also 2-1, so that helps. Number 4, the Eagles have jumped up a spot after controlling their game, and they have not played their best football. I know it's an old adage at this point, but it's true. But they're still 3-0. Number 5, entering the chat, the Kansas City Chiefs. They are the 5th best team, and they could be higher if they had just beat the Lions on the Thursday night football game. But their defense is playing very, very well, and that could go well for their repeat run here.
I don't love it. I don't love that a lot of that top 5. But again, it's your opinion. I think I have 2 teams stagnant from last week's rankings. 3 teams. 2 teams have fallen out. You can probably guess who the obvious culprits are. Number 1 for me is the San Francisco 49ers. Like you said, I've had them number 1 from day 1 so far, and I don't see a weakness. I mean, obviously injuries, but we can't predict that stuff. So right now, I don't see a weakness on this team. Brock Purdy, hate him or love him, he does exactly what I told you that a quarterback needs to do for this specific franchise, and he does it. Miami moves up to number 2 for me. I mean, you hang 70 on anybody. I don't care who it is. Like, that's incredible. When their offense is rolling, that's a dangerous team to have to play. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't care where you are. I know we talked about this last week. But number 3, Philly moves into the chat. They're 3-0. I mean, how can you keep them out of the top 5, a 3-0 team? Really, took care of business against the first 2 opponents and really kind of laid it on against an unmotivated Buccaneers.
That's right.
Number 4 for me is KC. Obviously, they'd be higher if they were 3-0. But as far as one-loss teams go, I mean, a 1-point loss on opening night when you may or may not have been distracted and also without 2 of your best weapons on the team, I got to give them the edge there. So number 4 for me. Number 5 back in the chat is Cleveland. I mean, they should be 3-0 right now if it wasn't for Deshaun Watson. I know that sounds crazy to say, well, they can't be in the top 5 without a good quarterback. It's like they play every other facet of the game just incredibly. And you're hoping that Deshaun Watson figures out his way around, playing football again. But right now, I still have them in the top 5. They're hanging off the ledge top 5, but they're in there for me. Great running game. Their defense is way better than I think. We expected them to be good, but I think they're way better than I even thought they would be. So for me, Cleveland rounds out the top 5 in the NFL.
That Jeremiah Owusu kid from Notre Dame is exceptional as well.
I agree. The linebacker.
All right.
Is great.
Baseball top 5, and then we're going to take a break and do college football. This is our final top 5. Should I preface that by saying this is not a World Series picks, but it's pretty darn close, I'd say. So, would you like to go first on this one, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first since you went first in the NFL. I will say these aren't necessarily World Series predictions, but these I did a little hybrid I comboed the end of the year, obviously the finishing. We have like 4 or 5 games left, 1 or 2 series left. But I combo drawed that with my most confident picks to win the World Series. It's not predictions. You take it how you will, but there's a couple of teams that maybe shifted based on just a pure opinion of going forward in the postseason. But Atlanta, number 1. I think Atlanta, if the Atlanta Braves or the LA Dodgers aren't the NL representatives, like something went catastrophically wrong in the playoffs. So Atlanta, number 1. LA Dodgers, number 2 for me. Number 3 for me, I'm moving Tampa up to number 3, in my opinion. I think that, they just have enough moxie to get through the AL. There's only one team that scares me, which ironically didn't actually make my top 5. Number 4 for me is Baltimore. This was more the combo. This was more the side of the regular season finish. I don't have high hopes for them in the playoffs. Nothing against them. Good luck, but I think once the bright lights turn even brighter, you're gonna deer in the headlight kind of look. And number 5, re-entering the chat for me is the Milwaukee Brewers. Pitching is paramount in the postseason, and that's a lot of alliteration right there. But pitching is of great importance, and they got a lot of it. Timely hitting. Maybe they can get Christian Yelich back to form, but yeah, I think Milwaukee makes my number 5, and just outside is Houston, for obvious reasons. The pedigree that they have. Jose Altuve is playing his best ball, but I think Tampa gets them. I think Tampa gets them in the CS, and for lack of a better, I think it's Braves Rays.
Well, there's your picks right there.
Yeah, it's not an official prediction, but that's just my thoughts. I'm not going to place any wagers on it.
Atlanta Braves are number 1 for me, 7 home runs away from the record, which is 307. They're at 300 right now as a team. Best run differential in the league at plus 231, and of course, they still have a 52-29 road record tie for the best in the league. Number 2, the Dodgers. Are they getting hot at the right time? Because they've been playing very good baseball, probably better than the Braves have the last couple of weeks due to injuries or whatever. Number 3, the Orioles are still right there because they are 52-29 on the road. And of course, 8-5 versus Tampa Bay. Now, does that even out in the playoffs? Possibly. Number 4, moving up a spot, are the Houston Astros. And you're saying, how are the Houston Astros moving up a spot, being 2.5 games back? Well, they actually beat Texas 9-4 this season. So when they make the playoffs, even though Rangers have that division, I trust the Astros to beat them if they do meet. And they're also 47-30 on the road, not a bad deal. And number 5 are the Rangers, who are back in the chat. If healthy, Rangers are one of the best AL teams, if not the best AL team. But health, of course, is a concern with quite a few of these teams. And then, of course, I want to give an honorable mention, but I'm not going to. But it's the Phillies if I had one.
Yeah, the Phillies are playing good ball right now too. It's tough to look at them on face value and say, well, you can't even get anywhere close to the guys above you in the division. They're 13 games back, but yeah, that's a tough one. It was hard for me to put Houston in there because they might not even make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I think they have like 1 series left, and I think that's pretty tough for the Mariners jump them.
The Mariners are half game back. They just took 2 of 3 from them. But both teams, the Mariners are 4-6 in their last 10, and the Astros are 3-7 in the last 10. I don't really put a lot of stock into either of them. Justin Verlander's pitching a little bit better, but
he had a good
I know
game
I'll get
the
burned by Houston. I mean, they have the playoff pedigree. If they can get in, they're obviously a dangerous team. But team no one's talking about, Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, I know they don't have
they're getting hot.
They don't have any playoff pedigree either right now, but you never know. That's a team that plays with a lot. They have a lot of fun when they play, so we'll see what happens.
I also like their home stadium advantage too. They're pretty good at home.
It's true.
MikeandAaronDrive.com for our sponsors, shop, socials, and YouTube in some order of that. When we come back, college football top 5 and college football best games of the week. We got the meats. We got the meats.
I don't want to get sued on here, so you got to be careful what you say.
That's right.
Welcome back to the AM Drive here this Wednesday edition. We're presented by our friends over at Agridime. If you need the best meats delivered right to your door, fresh, high quality, great meals for you, visit our friends at Agridime. You can go to MikeandAaronDrive.com, click the logo, it looks like this. When you shop, use promo code AMDrive for 10% off your order. Once again, AM Drive, all caps, no spaces. Head over to MikeandAaronDrive.com, click the Agridime logo. Shop today for the best meats delivered directly to your door just in time. The weather is getting cooler, so it's time to break out the smoker. Agridime, AM Drive, tell them we sent you.
Don't name the cow. College football. Right. College football top 5. I'll go first here heading into week 5, I think, is it college football technically. Number 1 for me, echoing the sentiments of Greg McElroy, former Alabama quarterback, for what it's worth. Texas is the most complete team right now. They're still my number 1. Still my number 2, but hanging on by a dear thread for that number 2 spot because they're the defending champions is the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 3, Michigan, or should I say Michigan Wolverines. Number 4, jumping up again to number 4 spot and making my hypothetical playoff is USC. And number 5, because they struggled against Clemson, although they did win, I'm keeping them in the top 5, but Florida State, you're on my watch list.
Yeah, for me, not much change on my board here. I don't see the love for Michigan quite just yet. So my number 1 team, until they're dethroned, I understand that they're not making sexy wins, but until they're dethroned, UGA, back-to-back champions, haven't lost a game in 2 years, almost going on 3 years here. That they're the number 1 team. I mean, like I said, maybe they go up against Texas right now and Texas beats them. We'll see. That ain't going to happen until we get to a playoff. Number 2 is Texas. Despite they're holding on to the Alabama win, but nothing else for me really seems sexy. I mean, they've overlooked opponents and maybe been a little closer than we expect for a team that we're putting number 2 this early in the season. But to not take anything away from them, I don't think anybody else has looked better than them. So they slide my number 2 spot. Number 3, I think USC got a bad draw by not playing the week where all these big games were playing. They're sliding in all the polls, but not in mine. I got them number 3 here. They got another big one against Coach Prime. And if they slap him around again like Oregon did, we might see it. We might see a number 2. You guys want to love on Coach Prime so much. Well, I might move USC to number 2 if they slap Dion around a little bit. Number 4 for me is FSU. I mean, I don't want to do a little homer rant here, but I mean, who has 2 better wins on their schedule than LSU and Clemson and Death Valley? I understand Clemson's not Clemson, but those 2 wins, those are the 2 best wins for any one team on the schedule. I mean, if you can debunk me, please go ahead. But the Boston College has left a sour taste. The Boston College game left a sour taste in a lot of fans' mind. And number 5 for me is Michigan. I'm sorry. Yeah, you beat teams when you suspended your coach. You let Rutgers hang around for the first half. I mean, No, I'm not buying it just yet. I'm not saying they're not a good team. I think they are a playoff team. I think they're better than Ohio State, obviously, based on this. But yeah, I'm not ready to put you in my playoff just yet. Yeah, honorable mentions. I think Notre Dame's a great team. I'm not putting them in an honorable mention as like they're close to the top 5, but I'm just saying Ohio State obviously beat them. I think Notre Dame beat themselves, but and then it's to me it's these 5 teams there's a little bit of separation from the rest of the pack right as it stands right now.
For me, the team that's coming close is number 6 Oregon, and then behind them is number 7 Ohio State. But Oregon's closer to the top 5 than anything.
If I had to put one, it might be like I forget about Penn State. They do this every year.
Yeah.
They're going to be highly ranked going into some big matchups. But
24-0 against Iowa was pretty gross, though. That was a pretty interesting win.
Yeah, it's hard to take Iowa seriously. I can't figure that out, But I'm not taking anything away from Penn State. Like I said, this is what they do. We'll see what happens when they have to go face Ohio State and Michigan this year. So I don't know. We'll see.
Number 10, Utah Utes. I guess number 19, Oregon State. Oregon State's favored by 3.5. Probably because Cam Rising is still not playing. I'm not sure. And the total is at 44.5. Now, granted, I said that last week and thought UCLA would beat Utah. No, Utah was up 14-0 for most of that game without their star quarterback. That's just insane defense. And even on the road, even if they lose this game without Cam Rising, I still believe Utah can cover the 3.5 is my best bet here.
Yeah, this one's tough. This opened up at 2.5, immediately got bet up. I think Oregon State is exactly a field goal better than Utah, being the fact that this game is on the road. If this game was in Utah, I would have no interest in playing the Beavers.
Right.
But this is a tough one. It's a tough spot. I still think Oregon State can get this done by like a touchdown. Yeah, the Cam Rising. I mean, he's still not playing. Like it's crazy to think this, and I think Utah's getting a lot of love because everybody who's not paying attention, a casual, as the kids like to say, still think this is all Cam Rising, and it really hasn't been all year. They're 4-0.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to go on the road against Baylor and barely beat them. They needed last second. Oregon State's way better than Baylor. I think this game is 7-10 in favor of the Beavers. This game's on Friday. It may be an AM drive. I wish this game was 2.5 still because I would love it even more. But DJU, guys playing good. I know they lost to Wazoo last week, but I think the Pac-12 is the best conference in America right now.
Too bad.
Yeah, too bad you won't be around next year.
That's right. Number 1, Georgia Bulldogs against Auburn Tigers. This one made my list because I think Auburn is undefeated or 3-1. Like, they're a pretty good team right now, supposedly. I haven't checked their matchups, I'll be quite honest with you. But Georgia's favored by 14.5 points on the road. The total's at 46.5. Aaron, if anything, I guess I may like the under here because I don't trust Georgia's offense yet. But I feel like if Georgia were to cover or even keep it, like even if they didn't cover, I feel like this game has to be a low-scoring game. I feel like Georgia's defense has to get it done in Auburn. They might shut them down and win by 17 points. But for me, I'm going with the under as my best bet.
That's a tough one. I mean, you're with the under, you have to just assume Auburn can't score because Georgia's going to get points. I mean, I'd pencil them in for at least 24-28. So if you're thinking if it's 28-20 kind of game, I mean, do you think Auburn can hang with them? I don't know if Auburn can hang with them. I don't know a ton about them, like you said. Like, are they really kind of flown under the radar? But I mean, Georgia hasn't really been sexy this year. Anybody that they've actually played with half a pulse, South Carolina, they haven't been able to cover these numbers. So this one's tough. I mean, this game's on the road. It's a no play for me, but that number is just too low for me to think that if Auburn hangs around, you're going to keep it under 46.5.
Auburn, they're 3-1, and okay, so I reserve my thoughts. I think Georgia's going to kill them. Auburn has beaten UMass. They won at Cal 14-10. They won versus Samford 45-13, and they just lost at Jimbo in Texas A&M 27-10. That was a loss. So I guess Georgia might kill them.
Yeah, I would lean the over in that. I think Georgia can get 30.
That's a fair point now.
I guess the question is, can Auburn get anything? I mean, it's tough. I don't want any part of this game, but I would probably tend to lean toward the over. Last year they were in Athens, and it was 42-10 for Georgia. Obviously, that's Stetson Bennett versus Carson Beck. It seems like Carson's getting his feet under him a little bit more each week. So, no play for me in this one, but I'd lean toward the over.
Well, I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to go over in Georgia cover. There you go.
I'm going to say a lot of things, and then I'm going to read really quick, and then I'm going to change everything I just said.
They win like 41. I'm going to say 41-7.
All right. Just sneaks over.
That's fair. All right, number 8, USC Trojans, wink. Sorry. In Colorado for college game day again. Like, did we not learn our lesson last week against Oregon? Whatever. I know that was in Oregon, but you get it. They had another game earlier this year. USC is favored by 21.5. The total is at 73. And this is a cute spread, man, because I remember last week, Oregon was favored by 21.5 at home. I guess we're thinking this is pretty much – I think USC's way better. And you've told me USC's defense has played better, in your opinion, than other people may think. I think you mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. I like USC to win this game by a ton of points. I think they will cover the spread as well. And like you said, they're kind of flying under the radar because they had the early game in week 0 and then kind of, fell off, but they still hollywhopping teams. So I'm going to go USC with the cover on the road here. Drink.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because last week when they played Arizona State, they gave up 4 touchdowns to them.
Great.
And yeah, but they had been playing really good defense until then. Arizona State's not a slouch. They're not a great team, but they're not a slouch. I think this 73 is just such a huge number. I'm seeing right here 73.5, potato tomato, but this is so tough because so much handle is going to be on this game, and as a person who fires on college football regularly, you just there's nothing so sexy enough to want to bet this. I mean, to be honest with you, if I'm playing a contrarian side, it's got to be that I would play Colorado plus 21.5. I mean, the last people who played Colorado minus 21 or whatever, they got burned 42-6. The fear of getting back on that horse really, doesn't excite people to get back into Colorado. I know. And if you look at it this week from last week, a lot of that love and that rah-rah spirit and the coach prime this and coach prime that, it's turned into a defender's mentality. And it's turned into a whole week of we've gone down some weird political landscapes. I don't want to go down that stuff, but you get what I'm saying. Everybody's shifting off of Colorado, and those who aren't completely off are already in defense mode. So I think if I had to pay a side on this one, I'd bite the bullet and just grab those 3 touchdowns. And do I think Colorado's better than Arizona State? Yes. Do I think this game will be close? No. I think this game is a 17-point victory for USC.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for your pick here. So not only does USC run the ball for 192 yards a game versus Colorado's 55.8.
Run the ball at all.
Oh, that's what
Colorado
I'm saying.
Doesn't run the ball at all.
Right. USC's pass defense is actually better than Colorado's. USC's pass defense is only allowing, which is surprising, 228 yards a game, which is actually pretty low considering what their defense is, giving up points. Colorado's averaging, their defense allows 269. That's a problem against Caleb Williams.
I really want USC to walk in there and step on the Buffalo and scuff the Buffalo like Colorado did to Oregon.
And they're going to actually back it up, too.
Yeah, I think this game's closer than you think. I think you just got to hold your nose. If you're taking anything, you hold your nose and you take 21 points. At home?
Nope.
All right. You want to make a bet on this one?
Nah.
Of course you don't.
Because you know college football more than I do.
Doesn't make me right.
That's a good point because you've had a bad year. That's a good point.
I'm 5-5 so far in college football. You're correct. That is a bad year, but I'm 5-5. I'm not sub 500.
24 Kansas against number 3 Texas, the most complete team in college football. Texas is favored by 16.5 at home. The total is 62.5. Before I make my pick, I better check the record of Kansas so far. Maybe you can do that for me. I'm kidding. Well, I knew that. I'm talking I'm trying to see what they've done. They beat.
They beat Illinois. They beat really kind of a bunch
State,
of nobodies.
Montana State. I don't know.
It's Montana State. Yeah, Illinois, Nevada, and BYU.
I think Texas kills them.
I do too.
Good.
Yeah, I think that this is a ranked matchup, but I think Kansas is severely overmatched. I'd give them a little credit if this is the same line and the Kansas was at home. I maybe give them a little bit toward that, but yeah, I think Texas. Wow. This is another ranked opponent that Texas can show out against, a 4-0 team. I don't see Kansas hanging. I know Jalen Daniels, or not Jalen Daniels, but freaking what's his name? I can't remember his last name. Jalen Daniels. Yeah,
it is Daniels. Yeah, another one.
I was thinking of JT Daniels, but Anyways, I don't think Kansas can hold with them. I mean, I don't think Kansas is a bad team. I just think Texas is that much better of a team. This could be a 4-touchdown route.
I agree. I think the game goes like 38 or 41 to like 10 or 14.
Yeah, I can see exactly what you're talking about. I mean, 31-10, something like that. I don't think Texas isn't running it up on anybody. I mean, no offense to them. They just haven't done it. Whether that's lack of focus or whether that's actual talent. They're just I think it's like 35-10, something like that, in that neighborhood.
So Duke, I think they're still hanging on to a thread of Clemson because they literally beat Clemson 28-7. And now in this game against Notre Dame, who just went toe-to-toe against Ohio State, Notre Dame's only favored by 5.5. That's a very interesting spread, in my opinion. The total is set at 52. Aaron, I think Notre Dame could cover that. I think Notre Dame could win this game by 2 touchdowns. I don't see why Notre Dame would not at least be favored by a touchdown. I don't care if you're on the road against Duke. Come on now.
Against Duke. Yeah, this one's tough because you're right. I think the line should be a little bit bigger, and that's only because I would want to be on the Duke side at this point. It's a home game. I know we saw what they did against Clemson, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't really mean anything anymore in this spot. Notre Dame's coming off a great game, but not getting the win. I feel like it's a tough spot. I don't understand why you hate on Notre Dame so much.
No, I'm trying to do the math here because you cut out after you started your sentence and it was like, what?
Okay, yeah, no, I mean Notre Dame's coming off of a tough loss, but I think they played a great game. I thought they should have had that win in the bag. They blew it, but it's hard to bet against Duke right now. They really haven't shown me any reason to think that they're not capable of hanging with big dogs. So I wish this line would get bet up a little bit more. If this line gets up to 7, which is a pipe dream, I think I'd be on Duke. But I mean Notre Dame should take care of business, with this team. But I'm not counting out Duke. I'm not counting out this team. Riley Leonard has got these boys playing above their heads. I mean, this may be the deflating game. I don't know. I told you this, Notre Dame controls their own destiny despite the Ohio State loss. They can't lose this game, obviously. But this may feel like a teaser spot. Take it down 6. Just take Notre Dame for the win.
Their only road game for Notre Dame this year was at NC State. It was a shootout, 45-24.
Right.
Interesting.
That's what I'm saying. I think Duke's obviously a better team than NC State. Notre Dame doesn't have to go on the road a lot. So I think this game could hang close. I just don't love only having 5.5 points. I like having a touchdown, but
Duke also has played nobody in the School of Blind Kids, but they are only allowing 143 yards passing a game too, which is also an interesting stat against Sam Hartman.
I love how you gave credit to the School of Blind Kids, but everybody else is nobody.
I mean, those guys, it's like that's my woke side of things. I don't know. I don't get it. Agritime code AM Drive for 10% off. Aaron's confusing me. When we come back, Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. We'll be right back.
All right, and welcome back here to the last segment. Wednesday's show, we are previewing some Thursday night football. We want to thank our sponsors, our friends over at Shank It Golf. Go to MikeandAaronDrive.com, click the logo, it looks just like that. When you're shopping at Shank It Golf, make sure you mention the code AMDrive for 15% off your entire order. Let them know the guys at AM Drive sent you, and for that, we are #Shankful.
Yes. Thursday night football, Lions against the Packers. Detroit is favored by 1.5 points. The total's at 46. Aaron, how you doing, man?
I'm fine, thanks.
Give me
for
the
asking.
Packers money line.
He stole the words right out of my mouth. I'm Packers money line all the way. I tend to favor the home team on Thursday night football. It just makes the most sense. I know this isn't a long travel for the Lions, but yeah, Thursday night just historically has shown that it favors the home team, and the Packers got a big come from behind win last week against the Saints. Detroit didn't really seem like they had to do much, but they got a comfortable win against Atlanta. I don't know. I like the way that Jordan Love's playing. I mean, he's going to make mistakes along the way. They're still probably a 9-8 type team, but man, I think he's coming along just fine. So yeah, give me the Packers in this game. Packers money line, and I think it's like another gritty one. So I'll take the under 46.
Jordan Love this year has a 69.2 QBR. Well, that's not that great. It's tied for 6th in the league. He's also got 655 yards, 7 touchdowns, and only 1 interception, doing his best Aaron Rodgers impression.
The QBR, that's the one that's out of 100, right?
Yep.
You give me a guy who's playing 70% well, I'll take that.
Jared Goff, for comparison, it's a 70.8, so it's not like it's a big difference anyways.
Yeah, I mean, you got to question really how many of these guys, these injuries for the Lions, are going to keep out again for another week on a short week. It's tough. It's really tough to look at the Lions and really feel great about them. I mean, if Aaron Jones can get back on the field, and God, is Christian Watson ever going to play?
His hamstring does not seem very happy right now.
Yeah, I was really impressed. No Bakhtiari, no Jenkins last week, and they were still able to beat the Saints at home. I like it. I'm liking the next man up concept for the Packers here. LaFleur's doing a great coaching job so far. It's early in the season. I mean, let's pump the brakes on absolutes, but so far he's doing a great coaching job. He doesn't. I mean, maybe you feel like there's just less pressure with no Aaron Rodgers in that building anymore.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, that's going to do it here for us. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you all. In between time, make sure that you check out MikeandAaronDrive.com, the shop sponsors, socials, and the YouTube. And we'll be back on Friday. NFL picks, AM Drive 5, all the good stuff that we know you guys tune into. So for Michael Carvelis, who now put a hood on his head.
Darth Carvelis.
What?
Darth Carvelis.
Darth Carvelis. Well, you have to wear the black then, like the Sith.
That's fair.
I'm Aaron Crouch saying enjoy your Wednesday, your Thursday, and we'll see you guys on Friday. And, of course, as always, gamble responsibly and
drive safe. Go Sith.